redefine everything. That's where we are now with the future of storytelling. It is true that people have constantly asked me, why are you working with advertising? Because advertising and marketing pretty much is kind of a dirty word. It means manipulation. It means creating desires that people don't have. But actually, it is about targeting. Now, redefine everything means that that's changed too, which means that brands need to act differently. And we know that. But the problem is that everybody says, yes, we need to act differently, but they don't do it. They still refer to the old storytelling models. So redefine everything is a bit of the motto, or a little of the slogan, or however you want to see it, whatever inspires you, it is redefine everything. If, as a brand, you have done your job well with a customer or a group, you will have done what we call in storytelling, you've created an object that exceeds its limitations to become an event in people's lives. I'll repeat it. An object, thing, event, feeling, an object that exceeds its limitations to become an event, a happening in our lives, in people's lives. So when we go back to redefine everything, how do you become the system that actually does that as a brand? That's different. That's very different from just targeting, which is what marketing and advertising does. Very important. We don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. We keep that, but we have to admit that as we are doing that, we actually are giving off so much information. We call that data. We call that content. I call that emotion. So basically, storytelling for marketing and advertising is a tactic. But storytelling for technology, digital, and the world that we're in right now, right, and we will go forward with, is actually strategy. Strategy is how do I plan, how do I work, how do I act on a landscape? Not just one message, but that landscape is made up of those messages, those stories. So as a brand, you are an abundance of stories. And you are what I call, number one, you are the emotional delivery system for the product. And that product is always a cluster of emotions. And those emotions are the things that are the feelings that will really drive your brand, connect you, and make your brand, your product, live, survive. Before there was, I'm going to tell you a little story about myself so you understand what I'm talking about. Before there was online, there was Bill Smith. Bill Crocker Smith was my English teacher. Now, if I'm 58 right now, and let's say later this tape will, this lesson that we're having today will continue, I will be older. But one of the things is that I will live on, obviously, even beyond myself in this tape, if it has the technology to survive. But Bill Smith was the emotional delivery system that allowed me as an object to exceed my limitations as a young 14-year-old black girl in a very, very tough part of town. And he was actually a white man. I think he'd come out of the closet as homosexual in 1968 as homosexual. Right? Now, that's against the law in 1968. As a matter of fact, in Virginia, that was against the law until 1972 when he met me. Right? But what he did was, with his interests in fashion, art, literature, he actually was that delivery system for me to become the person I am today, hopefully sharing with you how to do that. So if I was the product of this man's imagination, because at the time there was nothing online, we actually had to meet every day, and there was the telephone, but that was pretty much it. So there was travel, there was distance, and so I would come in, he'd say, Mary Lee, right? And even that emotion was enough to make me imagine that I could get beyond that very tough, very violent, very painful situation I was living in. Now, just to explain to you a little bit more about Bill Crocker Smith, is that he actually was also making hybrids of magnolias at the end of his life. So he was going around and like pollinating things, which is basically the exact same thing he did for me. He pollinated my life. He became an event in my life as a product, and then allowed me to go out and become an event, hopefully, in your life right now. But just to take this home a little bit deeper. So if I were a poor black woman, pretty much people saying, you're not going to get outside of your neighborhood in 1972 and then 1976. Well, I ended up going to Wellesley College. And when I had my interview at Wellesley College is a Seven Sisters. It's a, Ivy League college. The woman came in, she had her pearls on. She was very, very, very proper and prim. I was dressed by Bill Smith at the time in vintage clothing because I had no money. So what he did was he gathered all of these vintage clothings from Perry Ellis and all different, and he dressed me. So there I was in my fake fur, fake pearls, and she came in and she said, well, Mary, everything looks good. Your grades look good. And you seem like a very nice person. But the thing that makes us really, really want you at the school is contained in this letter that Bill Smith wrote to us. All right? So again, he's still being that emotional delivery system. He has delivered to her the image of me. And this is what brands have to do with their customers. You have to walk alongside them and be that sidekick, that enabler, that system that really makes them get what they need, but not necessarily what they thought they wanted. Because now, with mobile devices, even if you walk down the street at times, there's so much information you're giving off, and this is good. I know that some people think that that's kind of evil because there's surveillance, there's Big Brother, and things like that. But think about it. If I wake up with my telephone is that Bill Smith today. It knows what I need when I think there are things I want. I go in, I think I want a pair of shoes, right? But it is getting so much more data from me by what I wanted yesterday. So it may actually be able to see that I inspire to go further. So already it is enabling me to become bigger than I am, better than I am. And I think that that's kind of what, at the end of the day, for advertising, that is what helps the human being to survive. Food, shelter, clothing, and then we advertise to get the recognition.